Walter tells Buzz it's time for a new voice and a new approach in the GM office. Jeannie has been very loyal to Pelinka. It could be a tough decision for Jeannie if Walter makes that call. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it.
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, I best align.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, your host and White House correspondent. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the socials, all of them, at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Have you downloaded the KBLA app? If you haven't, treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Go ahead and download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Look, we've got some great content on the KBLA app, but we also have some great content on C-SPAN for you. KBLA Talk 1580's Climate Justice and Black Health Symposium is airing on C-SPAN and C-SPAN Now, and it's streaming on cspan.org today, Thursday, June 19th, from at 5 p.m. Pacific, which is right now, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. It is must watch, includes remarks from LA Mayor Karen Bass and Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., Representative Cynthia Kamlager-Dove holding it down in Congress, representing the folks of South LA and Culver City, and also Ben Jealous, the former president of NAACP and now president of the Sierra Club, as well as Tennessee State Representative Justin J. Pearson. It is a must watch, a must listen to, and so be sure to check that out. Now, speaking of checking things out, guess where I was yesterday? I'm here in DC today, but yesterday I crossed this off my bucket list. Went to my first K-Dot concert, talking about Kendrick Lamar and SZA. They put on a great show at the Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland, just outside of DC. It was, I think, the last stop that Kendrick and SZA had, I should say, in their North America tour. It was well worth the wait. I am a big Kendrick Lamar fan, and we are doing everything we can to get Kendrick to join us here on A More Perfect Union sometime soon, maybe when he comes off tour. But we are working on it because there's nothing like having a hometown guy on his hometown talk station particularly the only Black-owned and operated talk station west of the Mississippi. And so we're working on that, but I had a great experience. My college bestie, Dr. Best, joined me, and we had a grand old time. And so check the socials. I'll be posting some fun pictures and video from that. Now, it's time for your National News Roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, look, it's Juneteenth, and lots of talk about reparations. But right now, Governor Wes Moore is unveiling actions on Juneteenth aimed at closing the racial wealth gap. Our friend Jaron Keith Gaynor over at the Griot reporting that Maryland Governor Wes Moore announced a pair of new executive actions today aimed at restoring justice and closing the racial wealth gap for Black Americans in the state of Maryland, marking the 160th anniversary of Juneteenth, now a federal holiday, as we know. America's only Black governor. He announced a new executive clemency order for nonviolent cannabis offenses. Governor Moore has also approved more than 400 just communities to receive priority consideration for housing and community state funding. Governor Moore made the announcement at the historic Bethel AME Church in Cambridge, Maryland, where members were first formed before the end of U.S. slavery in 1847. And so didn't say reparations, but if we're looking at the goal of reparative justice, it seems to me that this is a move in the right direction. But if you go to thegrio.com, you can check out Jaron Keith Gaynor's article and his video interview with Governor Moore. When we come forward, we're switching gears. We are inviting Arianne Edmonds onto the show. She's an author of a new book that you've got to know about. You've got to know about this. I'm so excited about it. I have a feeling you're going to be too. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Coverage varies by plan. View contract and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
Do you own a 2005 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all? With the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering a low-cost vehicle coverage plan designed to save you thousands off costly vehicle repairs. Get your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage are included. For your free quote, call 800-689-5978. 800-689-5978.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text EQUAL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text EQUAL to 321-321. That's EQUAL to 321-321.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833 LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests as we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. This is more than a conversation about a beautiful book. This is a beautiful reunion. I am so excited to welcome Arianne Edmonds to the show. She is the author of this incredible book that's coming out that you absolutely have to get. I am telling you right now, this is going to be one of the biggest books of the summer. This is going to be one of the biggest books of the summer. We now belong to ourselves. That is the name of the book. It is in part a love letter to the ancestors. And I think in part, it illuminates a path forward. I think a lot of us right now are, trying to make sense of what's happening in the world. And at times may feel like we're jogging in place. I think this book offers a lot of really great clues. And I'm so delighted that the author has decided to join us to talk about it. Welcome, Arianne. How are you? Well, it's so good to see you. It's so good to celebrate this latest achievement. We now belong to ourselves. It is a story of J.L. Edmonds, the Black press, and Black citizenship in America. Let's start with the ancestor. Tell us who J.L. Edmonds is and why they are so important to this beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you for the question. J.L. Edmonds is my great-great-grandfather. He was born enslaved in Mississippi. He learned to read and write through the Freedmen Bureau schools during the Reconstruction era. And he worked on the trains as a Pullman porter and went back and forth, crisscross the country to save up enough money to move to California. And once he got to California, he started one of LA's early Black newspaper, The Liberator. Oh, I'm getting a call. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And so, no worries. And so, a lot of folks may not know that there was this publication called The Liberator. I mean, right now, a lot of folks are familiar with the Los Angeles Sentinel, which is one of the beloved and cherished Black newspapers here in Los Angeles. There's certainly other Black publications, but The Liberator, was ahead of its time.
Yeah, it's The Liberator ran from 1900 to 1914, and it talked about some of the most important news stories of our day, both locally and internationally. The newspaper championed for women's rights. There's actually a few publications right on the cover page. Jefferson would print ballots so people knew what to vote for. They could bring it to the polls with them. It was a true a newspaper that really supported the community and helped us to establish what Black Angeleno culture could look like, what we can dream towards.
Yeah, and so talk to us about Black Angeleno culture, because I think there are a lot of folks out there that don't think of Black folks first when they think of Los Angeles, when they think of the West Coast. Certainly, any student of history knows about the Great Migration and how so many Black folks came to settle here. But talk to us about this sort of unique history of Black Angelenos.
Yes. So there's actually a few waves of migration to California. And Jefferson and his family were part of this kind of one of the early waves, which is in the late 1800s. Our family arrived in California in the 1880s. And, there was a small knit community of Black folks that lived there at the time. And they worked really hard to connect, to make sure that we could establish home ownership, figure out how we can start our own businesses. And we would send for families that were still living in the South to have them come to California to create a whole new life for themselves. I mean, I think we're familiar with some of the migration up to Chicago or to New York. And there's less told stories about Black folks that left from Mississippi or from Louisiana that came to California looking for something a little different. And so there's these kind of like early Black pioneers, that is what I would call them, that established social networks. So they created a program through the AME Church called the LA Forum, where they would read newspapers around the country so people didn't feel like they were leaving their family. Something like in Jackson, Mississippi, they could still feel connected. They could go to the forum to find out what jobs were available, where they could purchase a plot of land, where they could get support for a new business they wanted to start. So they really kind of built the infrastructure of what life out West could really look like.
What I love so much about how you've structured this book, the first part is what we brought with us, the stories that we carry. And then the second part is what brought us together. And then the third part is preparing our legacy. And so I really love that you really take us on this journey. And you remind us that we carry these stories, we carry these histories with us everywhere we go. But more importantly, we're not alone.
Yeah, I think, I did an exhibition about Jefferson's work with CAM, California African American Museum, and some of the curatorial staff there. And something that came up as we were planning for this show, this exhibition, was this idea that Jefferson, he had this very fabulous life in the South too. He was dealing with a lot of, violence, and there was a lot of voter suppression happening, but he still figured out how to become a teacher, to educate young people through the Freedom Bureau schools. He still figured out how to get people engaged in the voter system. And instead of just saying, okay, this is enough, I figured out something for my community, I figured out a way for us to advocate for ourselves. He was like, I think I could make a greater impact. And he kept getting so much resistance from the folks around him in Mississippi. He said, I know there has to be something else. So he came to California and thought this would be a place where he could still vote, still fight for those same things. And I just feel like that civic-minded powerhouse that already existed, and maybe with the space was too small for him, he said, I can still bring this somewhere else. And so he brought all those stories, all that passion. And I just think that we have to remember that we're not just here living our individual lives. Every generation after Jefferson, I'm now the fifth, my daughter is now actually the sixth generation. Most of us have worked for the city. Most of us work on government contracts where we're trying to help uplift our communities. So many of my family members have become teachers, professors. When you set the tone for how you want to live your life, you can impact generations, hundreds of years later. I just think we don't always consider the seeds that we're sowing.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. And especially in this season where we're seeing, such an attack on all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. I like to say that, I don't spell Black, DEI.
Yes.
Right. As much as conservatives may want us to believe that, we come from a people who made a way out of no way. And this was a time where, we weren't getting the government contracts that we have today. Our products were not on store shelves at Target and Walmart and Costco.
No,
Right?
no, we were getting branding deals.
Right? Yet and still we thrive. Yet and still we thrive. How important was it for you to remind us of that through your new book, We Now Belong to Ourselves?
You know, it's so interesting because I think that when I was planning for this book, I was actually going to go in a very different direction. I was going to actually focus on Black Twitter, focus on Black journalism now, and what we learned from the Black press back then. But something really, something emerged as I started writing, and it was something I think it was a little actually deeper. I wanted to explore what does it feel like when we have ownership of our media systems? What does it look like when we have ownership of our own stories, the way we want to live? And I wanted to spend more time unpacking the vision and the dream I think that Jefferson and that generation had. I mean, this is a generation where they saw so many different constitutional changes. You know, there was the passing of the 14th and 15th Amendment that allowed Black men to vote, that allowed us to be free. And so, or free, I use air quotes, but, you know, to, to be, you know, for slavery to end,
right?
For the form that it was, yes. But there is this hope that they could create something new. There was like these seeds. There's this, and it's a kind of hope I think that we don't actually have in this generation, because these are people, I know we don't use this language, but they were refugees. And throughout the book, you'll see how I talk about them escaping the South. He didn't just move to LA because he thought it would be fun. He was escaping for his life and for his family. And so, you know, to answer your question, I wanted folks to be able to tap into this idea that, you know, this is a specific time in history where they felt like, okay, we have all this new freedom. What do we want to do with it? Mm-hmm. So they wanted to be with each other. They wanted to build churches. They wanted to build, you know, families. You know, they wanted to vote. They saw what new policies, how it affects your life, and they wanted to be a part of it. And so I just think that we haven't been able to tap back into that same type of optimism, even though they went through so much oppression and violence. And, you know, I don't want to sugarcoat it. I mean, Jefferson is very fierce in his newspaper where he condemns, you know, lynchings. He did a whole campaign on it. Like they saw some of the most atrocious things, but they carried this like devotion, I think, for themselves, for their families. And I just wanted us to be able to remember that, because we can't tap into that the same way.
When we come forward, I want to pick up right there on how we might better tap into that kind of energy in a time such as this. Look, I think no industry is above critique, including the Black press, our industry. When we come forward, Arianne, I want to hear your critique of the Black press today and what we can glean from the work of your ancestors, our ancestors, to help power through this moment. You are was a really conversation, Arianne Edmonds, and we will continue that conversation shortly. But let me just share real quick for you, you know, just how impactful that conversation was for me. There are obviously a lot of authors that we have a chance to talk to on this show, and a lot of books that we have a chance to share with you. But Arianne Edmonds' book, We Now Belong to Ourselves, really hit a nerve. And, you know, what was really so special to me is that her ancestor was such a pioneer and was so daring, even in the face of uncertainty. And I think Black Californians, Black Angelenos, you know, there aren't a lot of works, at least that I'm familiar with, that tells our story in connection to our place of origin. And Arianne Edmonds' work does exactly that. It connects the dots between the South and life in Los Angeles for some of the early pioneers, life in California for some of the early pioneers. And then, as a journalist, hearing the story about how her great-great-grandfather founded The Liberator. This was, a Black publication that was ahead of its time. And so I think in a moment like this, when there's a lot of uncertainty, a moment like this when we are unclear maybe how to navigate this, I really think that this story offers us something to draw upon. It offers us some clues. And I really want to encourage everybody to check it out. I really meant what I said in terms of I think this may be one of the most important books to read this summer as we're all looking to refill our cup. We're all looking for some inspiration. We're all looking for some clues from the ancestors. I think Arianne Edmonds is really on to something really special. And so when we come forward, backed by popular demand, more of my conversation with Arianne Edmonds. She is the author of We Belong to Ourselves. And she's also one of the co-curators of a really phenomenal exhibit at the California African American Museum, which I've had a chance to see. Let me tell you, it doesn't disappoint. More on a more union right here on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Reverend Al Sharpton and Spike Lee marked Juneteenth with a breakfast at Junior's in Brooklyn, reflecting on history and the power of voting.
Because if they could vote in 22 members of Congress Black in the middle of the 1800s, we have no excuse here in New York not to be voting.
More events in the city include a free concert in Times Square. California is moving forward with 2 reparations bills for Black descendants of slaves. One would verify eligibility, while the other creates a state agency to educate about slavery's history. And this is the 4th year millions of Americans are receiving a paid day off in honor of Juneteenth, which commemorates the end of slavery in the U.S. On this day in 1865, Major General Gordon Granger and 2,000 Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, to announce that over 250,000 enslaved Black people were free. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Santa Clarita. It's a work zone, 14 northbound via Princesa to Sand Canyon with the 2 right lanes off limits. And that drive is slow moving away from Golden Valley Road. Irvine, a crash on the 405 northbound before Jeffrey Road. Middle lane is blocked with a slow time from the 133 in Devore. This is the 15 northbound just past the 215 merge. A conked out car. They're trying to get it cleared out of the right lane. Delays all the way from Glen Helen Parkway. But that southbound side of the 15, it's a mess also out of the high desert, leaving the 395, delays ahead to Cleghorn.
Waba Grill is an LA original, so we've got to keep it real. Real fresh with our Asian-inspired menu that's grilled to order every time. Download the Waba Rewards app today or order online at wabagrill.com. Waba Grill, keeping it real for you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A key component of the Lakers' $10 billion sale to Dodgers owner Mark Walter is that Jeannie Buss, Jerry Buss's daughter, will remain as the team's governor and will continue to run the team. Jeannie Buss will also retain a 15% ownership of the team team after the purchase is finalized. Walter agreed to keep Jeanie Buss involved. Buss took over the Lakers after her father passed away in 2013. Jeanie Buss will continue to represent the Lakers at NBA owners meetings and sign off on major personnel decisions. Something to keep an eye on is the status of Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka. Pelinka has had difficulty building a contending team around LeBron James. What if Walter tells Buss it's time for a new voice and a new approach in the GM office? Jeanie has been very loyal to Pelinka. It could be a tough decision for Jeanie if Walter makes that call. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Ready to order.
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and so excited about this new book. I'm proclaiming it to be one of the most important books that you're going to read this summer. It's called We Now Belong to Ourselves. Here with us today is author Arianne Edmonds, who just, what a beautiful tribute to your great-great-grandfather. I've just got to read a little bit from the beginning of this book, if you'll indulge me. You start off by saying, we first find my great-great-grandfather, Jefferson Lewis Edmonds, in Crawford, Mississippi in the 1850s. He, like his grandson, Walter Chase Edmonds Jr., and my dad, kept a record of his life, his passions, his daily activities. I'm assuming Jefferson wanted someone to find him and the life he led. Well, I did. And I made it one of my missions to share the stories he left behind. You'll see me referring to my beloved Jefferson throughout this book. Using his first name helps me humanize him and make him feel more like family and not just a distant historical figure. You go on to say, before Jefferson moved his family to Los Angeles for a fresh start, he would first learn to read and write through the Freedmen's Bureau, through the Freedmen Bureau schools that were established during the Reconstruction era in the mid-1860s. And by 1875, Jefferson began teaching grade school and canvassing for voter rights for Black men in the state of Mississippi. He worked tirelessly to get Black legislators elected and sent to Washington. And according to a December 18, 1914 California Eagle retrospective, Jefferson was elected Justice of the Peace twice and served in the lower house of the state legislature in Mississippi in the 1880s. The first half of his life would be the training ground for the Liberator, a powerful Black newspaper he would become most known for. Wow. Wow. That is your great-great-grandfather.
I mean, it's interesting because I think my grandfather was so focused on this history. And when people ask me why, what inspired you to write this book or what inspired you to be telling this story? And, I always share that it wasn't just me. Each generation kept some of his letters, they kept his notes, they kept, his newspaper, he put them all in bound books. He kept each issue and put them in bound books, and they've been handed down in our family for over 100 years. So of course, this is like a love letter to my family to talk about all the amazing things that he did. But I think it's also meant to be a reflection to all of us that we also have, all of us have some stories, but if it's not documented, if it's not preserved, if it's not retold, and if we are not serving as witnesses to these stories, then we'll lose them. And so that's why I think Black journalism is so powerful and so important. And especially now when there is such, when there's really kind of like an attack on our history and our culture, and there's mass erasure. And so the role of the Black press, the role of all these journalists and storytellers, artists is so important right now. And I just don't think it's by accident that this book is coming out now to serve as a blueprint, to remind all of us that we've already done this. We've fixed this and so much more. And there are blueprints that are available to us whenever we say we're ready.
I love that. I love that reminder that we've already done this, right? We have been here before, and we will be here after whatever this is. I continue to say and believe that the surest way that we get to the other side of whatever this is together. It's in community, and you outline that with electrifying clarity in your book. Let's talk about radical imagination. I just read a passage from chapter 1 of your book. We ain't even gotten to the meat of it. This is just chapter 1 of the book. And there are some folks out there that without context would think that you were pouring a little too much sauce on the story of your grandfather. The fact that a Black man at that time in the history of the United States was able to achieve those things, was able to exercise that kind of agency, right? That's foreign to people, in part because we don't have a chance to lean into and be exposed to these kinds of histories. Talk to us about radical imagination, and how you were able to capture some semblance of your great-great-grandfather's radical imagination on the page.
Oh, there's so much there to unpack, Nii-Quartelai, because Jefferson is powerful and beautiful and dynamic, but he's not the only one. He has so many contemporaries, other Black editors across the nation that were also doing the same thing. I mean, he's special to us, and he's a visionary, especially for Black Los Angeles. But there are hundreds and thousands of stories like this that have been buried. So my hope is that this book gets to be a searchlight, that says, okay, there's a lot more in the canon, and let's bring them out. But in terms of imagination, there's so many beautiful passages in the Liberator where he talks about coming to California and smelling the orange groves, what it means to sit by the beach and smell the ocean. You know, they used to go to Bruce's Beach and spend time there. For those of you who don't know, it's like a very famous Black beach. They had a ballroom there, and it was like a social space. And he talks about what it means to have ease, what it means to like have people care about you and to be in community. And I think that he wanted to sell this California dream, this idea that yes, we have had so much suffering in our life in the South, and especially, you know, at this time frame, you know, where I'm writing this book, a lot of folks were formerly enslaved. These are people who have seen all kinds of devastation. And so it's like he's helping brick by brick the Black community to see something different. One other piece I want to share is that when he was a Pullman porter, he, of course, obviously went back and forth across the country, but Pullman porters played a really important role, and they worked with editors, Black editors across the nation to help distribute the newspapers. And when some of the white leadership, especially, you know, elected officials, saw that they were using these newspapers to mobilize themselves, they started, you know, creating a lot of barriers. But they worked together to make sure the information got out. And these Pullman porters would be on the trains collecting news stories while they're on the, you know, first class cart, you know, where they're serving everyone. They're hearing what's happening in Washington, what's happening across the nation. They write about it. So we always find a way to make sure we get the right information. And so I just see our book and Jefferson's story as one of many, many, many.
That's right, and it's a reminder that our dear brothers and sisters may lose an anchor chair here and there, but the work and witness of collecting and understanding news and information, right? That's not tied up with an anchor chair, right? Just because somebody's no longer an anchor on your favorite network, it doesn't mean that the news and information stops flowing, right? It's like a stream. It just sort of takes on sort of a new direction. I am such a fan of you. I'm such a fan of this book. In our remaining minutes, I know that you have spent some time living abroad, and I'm curious as to how your time abroad helped to set the stage for you to develop this marvelous work.
Thank you. Oh, I love this question. Yeah, I lived in Ghana for the last 4 years, and I started a family. We got a baby. We got a whole life, and what a blessing, because I was meant to finish this book before I got married, before I had our daughter, and I think I would have missed, I think, the legacy piece. I think I was able to intellectualize what Jefferson may have gone through, what he did, but he had 9 kids. He was doing this for his kids. He's doing it for me. He's doing it for my daughter. And so I think that spending time on the continent and seeing what it feels like to be in community, I think in ways, the continent has its own power struggles with, colonization, and there's all kinds of stuff there. But it gave me a minute to kind of rest in a way that's very hard to do here. And I think it also showed me that, I talk about this in the book, in Ghana, there's the Homo Festival, which is, the Ghana tribe is the ones that do this. It's like the Festival of the Harvest in August. And it's like a thank you, for everyone, for us to be able to like feast and eat. And there's some prayers and songs that happen throughout this festival. And one of them is like a prayer for someone, and is a song that's for all of the ancestors that were taken. It's for us. They sing about us during the Homo Festival. And I was so shocked by that. And I remember listening to the song and feeling very emotional. I put this in the book. And I didn't know the words. And my husband was like, this song is actually about you, about your family. It's about how we've missed you and how we're still praying for you. And, there's a lot of trouble, I think, within the diaspora. We all got our, we got our stuff. But one thing we do is we still don't pray for each other. And I think having those prayers, being in a space where we were still remembered, helped me to remember Jefferson in a way where there wasn't so much grief and pain all wrapped up in it. I got to kind of feel his story in a pure way. And I was able to build a new life the way he had to in California. I built that in Ghana, and it gave me a chance to see life through his eyes and to give him, to give him a little more love and, I don't know, less of the toughness of what's been happening in our country. It gave me a little softness.
Well, this book, We Now Belong to Ourselves, it is a healing. It is more than a book. It is a healing. I highly recommend it. We're going to have you back again because there's just not enough time to really delve into the healing power of what's on these pages, of what's in the story of Jefferson, her great-great-grandfather. I think there are so many insights here that illuminate a path forward, particularly at a moment like this in American history and world history. We want to make sure that you launch well. And so we want to encourage people to go see you in person on June 5th. You can join the Rep Club for a discussion with Arianne Edmonds, the author of We Now Belong to Ourselves, along with Amber J. Phillips here in Los Angeles at 6:30 p.m. The event begins promptly at 7 p.m. And so if you go to questions@reparations.club, they'll tell you everything you need to know about this, or just go on Eventbrite and search it. But you can see her in person and continue the conversation there. We're going to have you back. We're going to have you back to talk more about this marvelous book. Go out and get it. It's We Now Belong to Ourselves by author Arianne Edmonds. God bless you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such a delight. This is my
Absolutely.
first with you, and I love it. Let's do it.
The first of many. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
A nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
One right, girl.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte, and happy Juneteenth to each and every one of you. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Arianne Edmonds, backed by popular demand. Her book is out. Go out and get it. It's called We Now Belong to Ourselves. It is a great read. I'm predicting it's going to be one of the most popular books this summer. Because so many of you leaders, learners, and listeners are going to make it so. On this Juneteenth, I'm reflecting on a number of things. It's been quite a day. Started the day participating in a national call with the organization Black Men Vote, which is doing some incredible work organizing brothers across the country. You might remember in the last election cycle, they organized, I think, over 100,000 brothers to register to vote in different parts of the country. And they are already at work, engaging folks, not just in today's national call, but the 19th of every month. They're going to be doing other calls and other in-person convenings to bring people together. And so, hat tip to Michael T. Bland, the executive director of Black Men Vote, and the entire team there for the work that they're doing. Had a very interesting conversation earlier today with David Banner, and Mayor Raz Baraka of Newark had joined the call. Look, after every show, we remind you to do what you can from where you are with what you have. And those are the voices that we like to feature here, that we like to uplift, that we like to pass the mic to, and we'll continue to do so. But it's hard to not reflect on today and do some service work in some form or another today without thinking about our ancestors. Isabel Wilkerson put up a post on Instagram today reminding us of this number, 246 years. We think about that. Hold that number in your head for a second. 246 years. Author Isabel Wilkerson reminds us that nearly 2.5 centuries, that's what 246 years makes up, nearly 2.5 centuries. That's how long slavery lasted in what is now the United States of America. In her IG post, she says that this is the day that we commemorate the moment that the last enslaved Americans were finally freed in the slavery stronghold of Texas on June 19th, 1865. They had toiled for 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation and months after the end of the Civil War. These are the people, the enslaved ancestors whose courage and fortitude we honor today. They are the reasons that we celebrate. And as Isabel Wilkerson reminds us, this is a time to remember that slavery was not merely a sad, dark chapter in the country's history, but the foundation of the country's social, political, and economic order, and that it lasted for nearly a quarter of a millennium. Slavery lasted so long that no adult alive today will be alive at the point when African Americans will have been free for as long as the African Americans were enslaved. That will not happen until the year 2111. So there's a really great interview that she did talking about the significance of Juneteenth today, of the central role of slavery in the history of this country. She did a superb interview on NPR's Morning Edition if you want to hear more and check out more. But today, we reflect, we come together in community, we celebrate. Certainly a number of our leaders, learners, and listeners are at the KBLA barbecue having a good time. And I wish I could be there with you today, but duty calls. But after today, we continue to roll up our sleeves and we get to work. We get to work because we have never become a more perfect union, just hoping that things would get better. As my grandmother, Addie Mae Thomas, often said, you got to pray with your hands and pray with your feet. With that, we'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village that helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, my brother, Andy. Also, our show producers, Faraji and Art, and of course, each and every one of you. We appreciate you. Happy Juneteenth to you. Be safe out there. And for added measure, do what you can from where you are with what you have, but by all means, do something. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Shoulder where they've pushed this wreck off to, and the drive is pretty tough getting away from Carmenita. It's also going to be tough in Santa Monica. They wrapped up a wreck 10 westbound 20th Street. Delays picking up from Cloverfield.
Temecula Valley Balloon and Wine Music Festival by Events.com is happening June 20th through 22nd, featuring Walker Hayes, Cody Jinks, Alabama, Russell Dickerson, Midland, Big and Rich, and more. Get 3-day or single-day tickets now at TemeculaValleyFestival.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A key component of the Lakers' $10 billion sale to Dodgers owner Mark Walter is that Jeannie Buss, Jerry Buss's daughter, will remain as the team's governor and will continue to run the team. Jeannie Buss will also retain a 15% ownership of the team after the purchase is finalized. Walter agreed to keep Jeannie Buss involved. Buss took over the Lakers after her father passed away in 2013.